tradition. You know, some of the older people can remember when the Gagan brothers and Peter Manton and Brian Foley and other greats of the motor racing season were driving these cars. And if you go back and ask people their greatest memories, it might be the days when Skinny Manton used to chase Storm and Norm Beachy and the other fellows in the big cars around the tracks. Minis are still competitive, doing times that weren't possible in the days of Manton and Foley. Been relegated away from the real spotlight, I suppose, in that they're no longer the premier category, but they still do provide some of the most exciting racing you can imagine. And in practice yesterday, the fastest man in car number 191 was Rod Darling, who recorded a 58.6 seconds.
On the front there, left of screen, man on his right is the title holder from last year, Ross Whittig in car 20. 32nd board goes up.
Peter Crocker and Peter Farr on the second row. Jane Taylor, really blossoming as one of our top mini drivers. The only woman regularly competing here is on the next row in car 17. John Mallum, Paul Attard, Brian Walls, Reg Taylor, Clive Lee, Harry Smith, Stephen Henderson, Warwick Augustin, David McMillan, Paul Lockwood, Ray Smith, Stephen Evans, Ed Gavin, Keith Hughes. 19 cars, all in minis. The flag is up. The distance, 8 laps. Darling gets away. Whitting's got beside him and drawing just a little way to try and get the line and shut him off, which he does. And the field is coming out and pouring around Darling. Crocker's going past him as well. And the whole flock of minis pouring up the hill for the first lap.
Over the top of the hill, Whittig, you'll find, is well clear. Darling struggling with the running, with the inside run there. Will get through and maintain second place. Pretty good job to do so too.
Ed Gavin has the distinction of being last car around. Wasn't bad though. He started in the tail of the field, so no one's passed him. And he has a good view of all the cars pouring down, but a long way in front and probably out of his view is Ross Whitting. On the first of 8 laps.
This car putting out about twice the power that the minis used to put out in the original racing days when they first came on the scene. Well, I guess it was 1959, 60.
That's right, a long time ago. 21 years now that they've been racing.
And Bart, you remember those days in the 60s and just the very early 70s when they were still such a dominant force at Mount Panorama at Bathurst.
Well, they won the race in 1966. Incredible though it may seem. In the days it was called the Gallagher 500. And in fact filled the first 9 places. Whittig's still in front, but the field is starting to close up on him. See, the Darling, who made rather a slow start, but was quickest in practice yesterday, is closing up. There's no doubt he was back in third place for a while, but struggling with this pack pouring round at the corner at the moment.
Must be caught napping in Darling at the start. He dropped a couple of places, got them back going up the hill. Well, he's now settled down. It was really out to mount some sort of a challenge on the defending title holder in the mini-series here at Amaroo, Ross Whittig.
Peter Farr running in third place, hitting a pack that stretches out single file. You can see them going through the field, through Winfield Corner. It's Whittig. It's pulled away a bit from Darling.
He goes through with about 8 car lengths on Darling.
He made up a lot of ground that time, Gary. Darling seemed to be quicker up this part of the circuit and then let him get away at the bottom part. Can't afford to do that again.
See if Darling can close up this time.
Not as used to the circuit as Whittig. For those of you who know your minis, you may wonder what that trunk-like projection at the front of the car is. It's just to enhance the carburetors on the crossbow cylinder head. It's a racing type motor rather than the standard engine, needless to say. And they need the protection to guard the carburation equipment up the front.
On the corner comes Ross Whittig, Rod Darling in pursuit. They go through third place at the present time, being held down by car 21. That's Peter Farr. Then comes car 17. That's Jane Taylor. She's in 4th place in this race. She was in the 3rd row of the grid off the start, and she's maintained, in fact improved that by 1 position. And she is really driving that car with a great deal of flair.
It's a great effort, you know, because there is no more fiercely contested category in motor racing than the minis, and for her to be in 4th place out of 19 starters, the top drivers in Australia, is really a great achievement for Jane, and she's up there in 4th, just going through now, and in fact making a challenge on the outside of another car there. Ross Whittig waving for someone there, must have enough time. I think just acknowledging the fact that a flag light was letting him know there was a car behind him.
And Jane Taylor's moved up into 3rd place ahead of Peter Farr, so it's Ross Whittig in the lead, Rod Darling, and then Jane Taylor.
There she goes in the red mini with the white flared mudguards. Yes, she was pulling out to try and pass him as they were going up PRC straight over the top of Pitchy Pave Hill. She got alongside, got into third place. So Jane Taylor now is in third place, heading the queue behind these two cars. Ross Whitting in front and Rod Darling in second place. Jane Taylor, the leader of the other group, is in actual fact about 30 metres behind. There's Jane now. Seems to be running virtually without sponsorship. It's a very clean and neat car without any advertising on it, so it looks like Jane beating the bills herself, or most of them. And she's made up ground. There is no doubt that she has caught these two cars in the front.
Well, to get that close to drivers of the calibre of Darling and Wittig, particularly Wittig, the defending title holder in the series, it speaks tremendous volumes for the ladies' talent. Jane Taylor up with the front runners in the first round of the classic Coax mini-series here at Amaroo Park. But Ross Whittig holds pride of place. Rod Darling and Jane Taylor.
There's Jane Gainster in car number 17. She qualified fifth.
Peter Farr still holding down the fourth spot. Down through Honda comes Ross Whittig. Darling in second place. And Jane Taylor. Farr 98 holding down third spot. And that's Brian Walls.
He's made up a lot of ground because he started from 8th position. So it's a really good effort by Brian Walls to get up there into 5th place. Ross Whittig is a man who would have been expected to have won. In fact, there was some surprise that he was 1/10 of a second slower than Rod Darling in practice. Darling now dropping back a little bit, still holding second place, but maybe under some threat from Jane Taylor, who just comes into view there. She herself has Peter Farr very close behind, so Jane's not having an easy drive. Having a car behind can be just as much of an embarrassment as having someone in front that you can't get by.
Not a lot of interstate representation in the mini-series first round here at Amaroo Park today, but I guess we'll see the interstate visitors turning up as the year progresses. Alan Brazel, I know, from Victoria, has given the business away. He was a great competitor here in several rounds at Amaroo last year, and he swerved a great advantage, but he decided it's time to call it quits. I wonder if that'll leave the field to Ross Whittig, as I said, winner of the series last year, holding the lead at the moment by about 35 metres over car 191, which is here on your screen there. That's Rod Darling holding that second place, and the lovely Jane Taylor third spot.
There are a couple of interstate drivers. Brian Walls, who we just mentioned, has made up a lot of ground. He comes from Queensland. Steve Henderson and Doug Byrne have made a trip to Victoria, and Keith Hughes, who qualified right down the tail of the field, also came from Queensland. So we have 2 Victorians and 2 Queenslanders in the field, but the majority of drivers are New South Wales, and most of them know their way around Amaroo Park, which is probably the most spectacular circuit in Australia to car like this, because it suits them. It is right down to the ground. It's all corners, and that's what they like. People with the very high power outputs they have these days, they're still basically a car that shines on the corners. Whittig now finding that Darling is closing up again, as he always does. In this part of the circuit, Darling flies. It really comes up close there, and then seems to lose him when they come down here towards Winfield.
Valued associate here at Amaroo Park, Gary Kyle, has just been up at the pits and informed me that Grice's problems were electrical, Evan Green, and we should see him back on the track and running in the second race of the Sports Sedan Super Challenge.
Well, that's great news. So Grice has missed out on the first, but we'll be back in action later on. And once again, Whittig has pulled away from Darling, who has to do it all again. Lose him up the hill. Now he's off again around the sweeping corners.
Last lap, board is up, so they're going to find it difficult to get past Ross Whittig from here. Still with an advantage of 3 or 4 car lengths from Rod Darling. Jane Taylor has got back 2 places by G.
Whether she had a moment up on the sweeping bench or whether there's something wrong with the car, I don't know, but she's dropped back and vigorously held third place to be running 5th.
Peter Farr, I think, and might be Brian Walls, I took the head of it there.
Yes, Brian Walls will be up in the 4th place.
Peter Farr, yes, and Brian Walls, both ahead of Jane Taylor. But Ross Whittig...
Yeah, Jane's in trouble. See her slowing down the red car there, and she's being passed and just trying desperately to get to the finish of the race, which is going to end 1 lap too soon for her, but just in time for Ross Whittig. Not that he's had any problem, and Ross Whittig has led from the start, takes the checkered flag in fair style from Rod Darling, the man who was quickest in practice. Second place, Peter Farr going into 3rd place, and 4th, the Queensland driver Brian Wall. Ross Whittig waving to the flag marshals, acknowledging both their cheers and saying thank you for your help, because the flag marshals all around the circuit give advice to drivers as to what lies ahead, whether there may be oil on the track, whether there's any hazard there, or what goes on behind them, whether there's a car trying to pass. Various flags and colours mean different things. And right out in front of us, here at the start, we have car number 30 with the broken rear wheel. And Reg Taylor just got to the finish. He's just beside the tower. You can see just to the right of that, a crippled little Mini that just got to the end and is now on 3 legs.
Okay, so Ross Whittig has started off his title defence on a very successful note at
Here we are.
Park today.
There's Reg Taylor's car. You can see the view, and it's amazing that he got it to the finish line, seeing that he had to firstly drag it across. That back wheel wouldn't have been doing much to the stability of the car and doing an awful lot to try and slow it down. But Reg Taylor managed to get it across the line. He qualified. They've taken the boot off. You can see how simple a job it is on some of these racing minis where they've fitted lightweight panels to try and take weight out of what is already a pretty light sort of car. A lot of anxious glances there from his pit crew from the Kelly country. We'll be returning to, as we just get a last glimpse of some of the sad sights around Amaroo Park, returning here for all the action in just a few moments.
Very, very proud of it too. Robert and Tony have put so much work into the car that it's a reward for them as well as everybody else who's been supporting our Mini.
Comparatively speaking, as a driver, you're still a novice, aren't you?
Relatively, yes. I have been driving competitively for 1.5 years, although I have been driving Minis for a little longer than that.
What's happened this year, though? Because, I mean, you've suddenly become terribly competitive. It's a new car.
Yes, it is. It's Alan Brazil's Victorian car.
Alan's retired, hasn't he?
Well, not exactly. He still is into front-wheel drive cars, but of a different nature.
Does anybody ever retire from motor racing? I don't
I
think.
doubt it very much.
Okay, now tell me how you got pole for this series today.
We were very lucky in that we were in the first heat of the Camalco Sports Sedan Series, and we practiced in the dry, and the second heat was right behind us, and Robert did a rain dance in front of Ross Whittig, and it rained.
Well, you were going terribly well before you ran into mechanical trouble here last meeting, and with the advantage of pole today, you must be looking forward to a big finish.
Yes, we are looking forward to it very, very much.
The other exciting news that I've heard a whisper about is that it looks like you'll have a drive in the James Hardy at Bathurst this year.
Yes, that's correct, Gary. The rumours are true. Gary Wilmington has offered us the co-drive of his big booming Falcon, and if we can raise enough money...
I was going to say, that's expensive.
It is very expensive. Gary is asking a fair amount for the drive, but we feel it will be worth it, seeing as he is building a whole new car. We have had a little support for the Mini while we have had this particular Mini from Radifin Teletext Adapters, who have been wonderful in their support for us. Although they can't give us all the money we need, they try and help us out in any way they can.
Well, another big showing today might bring in some more sponsorship.
Well, we hope so. The idea of getting a sponsor for Bathurst is a much bigger thing than the Mini, of course. We are hoping that to get the money, in some ways we have already got a little bit, in that a lot of friends, uncles, aunties, supporters, fans have all put in and pledged $50 each towards the cause. And we have, if we do collect, in the end collect that money, we will have about half the money already to buy Gary's drive for Bathurst.
Okay, keep your eye on Jane Taylor in today's round of the Classic Wax Mini Series here at Amaroo, because you might be hearing a lot about her in the James Hardy at Bathurst come October.
Well, thank you, Gary. Number 9, Gary Tully's car, returning to the pit area. Of course, the boy who was injured in the previous race. They
get busy when these minis get on the track, and that's just what they're doing now for round 2 of the Classic Car Wax Series here at Amaroo Park Raceway. We've just spoken to Jane Taylor, the glamour girls of motor racing at the present time, and I think we mentioned we've got 4 girls racing here today. Jane Taylor in the mini series. Also got Jackie Sutherland up from Victoria. She'll be driving later on in the Formula V race. The TAA air hostess Carol Barker Aldous, who went round in the Barclays TR7 Pro-Am series, and of course the regular driver here at Amaroo Park, Alexandra Surplus, who drives a Corolla in the Better Brakes Touring Car Series. So 4 girls in action on the track here at Amaroo Park today. Good to see. Very accomplished. A couple of them still gaining experience in the field of motor racing. In fact, all of them, but a couple of them showing tremendous promise, and Jane Taylor, one of them. A quietly competent young lady who wants to do well in motor racing. And I'll tell you what, if they get that offer of a drive together with Gary Wilmington at Bathurst in October, that experience is going to push her driving career ahead in leaps and bounds.
Okay, on the front row of the grid today with Jane Taylor is Paul Attard in the number 58 mini. Here's Paul just moving up now. He's been campaigning in minis for 2 years. This is his second meeting in this car. He finished 6th in the first round. He's got a totally unsponsored car, does all his own work. He's got one of the smallest capacity cross-flow motors, but he intends to do well here today. Oh yes, you know the channel, darling. Been tutored by Gary Wilkinson. Well, it's good to see Jane Taylor because we've been following her progress here for the past 12 months, and she is a very, very good driver.
She was unlucky last meeting. I mean, she was up running third in the race before she had mechanical trouble. Engine blew on her. It was more than trouble. Yeah. Put her out of contention altogether.
Well, we've got number 88 in the field. Of course, Clyde Lee. He's one of the regular campaigners. 191 is Rod Darling.
32nd borders up.
Number 26, of course, Keith Deuce, and Chris Taylor at number 30.
Ross Wittig, who won the first round of the series here in car 20, is back towards the rear of the grid. That's not where he's used to being, but he qualified in the wet yesterday, and with the amount of power that little car of his puts down, it was pretty difficult to keep it under control and post a fast time. But you watch him in action today.
Okay, ready for the start. The flag is down, and they're off and racing. And getting away quite smartly indeed was Jane Taylor in number 17, heading up Bitcher Pave for the first time.
She's beat out off the front row pretty smartly.
Yeah, she's got quite a good lead going over the top of the hill for the first time, brings them down into Dunlop Loop. Some of the angles here of the cars as they approach this corner for the first time are somewhat bewildering, but the field goes through Dunlop intact. We wait on Jane Taylor to come onto the back part of the course with a little bit of buffeting going on here, folks.
She's lost out there. She's gone very wide, and she's allowed a couple of cars to push up on the inside of her.
Now she'll really have to fight back for the lead position. She's got quite a little fan club down here as well today. Number
Peter
21,
Farr
Peter Farr
has the lead from Taylor.
The next one back on the inside is Paul Attard, who shared the front row of the grid. They're coming through smartly indeed, number 20.
And car 88, Clyde Lee, is also up there. Car 20, of course, is Ross Wittig, always the tough man to beat round Amaroo.
Yes, he'll give this one big shake, let me tell you.
There he goes.
He's in the Guardsman security entry, trying to lock up a win. Going onto the front straight away. One lap completed, and the race lead still held by Peter Farr. Ross Wittig doing well. Jane Taylor is also in there as these little minis go screaming over the top of Bitcher Pave. Left-hander, now back to the right-hander.
I can't understand how Jane Taylor lost the lead going through here the first time. She must have got terribly wide going down around this corner to let those other two underneath her.
Well, she's going to have to keep on the pressure for the race leader, because the fellow who's running back in third is well known as a guy who can handle all sorts of pressure and come from behind and win, and he can also do a great job off the front row.
Well, he had 10 cars in front of him at the start. He's now only got 2 there.
Oh, like a demented dog.
Taylor's got the lead again.
Jane Taylor goes back into the lead, and
Wittig's in second spot.
Yes.
In first spot.
No, he's going to give her a big charge under brakes here. Oh, dearie me, a little hook there, and it's left Jane parked out of harm's way. And bad luck indeed for Jane, but she is going to get back onto the track and go after. Ross Wittig now takes over the lead with 2 laps completed in this race of the 8 laps. So 2 completed, 6 to go. Ross Wittig in the Guardsman security entry going to the left over the top of the rise in Bitcher Pave, well and truly installed as the race leader.
Well, I think Jane Taylor just got a big lesson in gamesmanship from Ross Wittig.
Well, they don't like playing with his rules. Okay, they come onto the back part of the course past Peter Warren, Phillips and Barclays Finance Signs, heading down towards the left-hander of Honda. And Ross Wittig, who manages to win more than his fair share of these classic wax Super Mini Series races at Amaroo Park, is out in front doing quite nicely. 191. That's Rod Darling, has now dropped into second place. Then Peter Farr is the next one. And then a good dicing going further back between Warwick, Augustin and Keith Deuce. 88, well placed, Clyde Lee.
Wittig's having up a big break now, about 30 metres over Rod Darling.
Had problems yesterday in the rain, would be far happier at this stage with the conditions that have greeted him this afternoon at Amaroo Park.
Over the top comes Wittig, then Darling, and you'll find that Farr is under very strong challenge now from Clyde Lee, and also Paul Attard in car 58.
Jane Taylor has continued to be up in about 9th spot at the moment. Okay, the field sweeps beneath us, and there's Clyde Lee in the yellow mini putting a ton of pressure on Farr, who's just in front of him here. They come down the back part of the course. Left-hander coming up next.
There goes Lee.
Right set Clive, both of us together. And Lee now goes through and picks up one more place in the race, and that will now advance him to third. 191, still plays second. That's Rod Darling. That's his name. That's not just my inflection. Back onto the front straight away, and Ross Whitting with quite a commanding lead at this stage. I would say in the vicinity of probably 100 metres from Rod Darling, and then number 88 Clyde Lee. Next is Far.
We've lost Jane Taylor somewhere around the back of the circuit. In fact, just over around past Mazda, I can see a car up against the embankment. I don't know whether that's it. There's a
Spark there in the bushes.
There it is.
Yeah, so whether or not we have some problem with Jane.
It is Jane Taylor.
Oh, that's bad luck indeed.
No, the early race leader, Jane Taylor, out of action.
Okay, well, Channel 7 camera's very quick to pick up. Maybe she hit the embankment on the back straight in front of the marshals.
Quickly out of the car.
Move the helmet.
Being attended to by the track staff there, very quick to move, as they always are in any mishap here at the Amaroo Park circuit.
Okay, this group of cars that we're following at the moment will stay on because Clyde Lee is now making overtures at Rod Darling on the front straight away. Here he comes. Lee has done a great job in this race. Moves to the outside, and they're going to tackle the top of Bitchapave Hill together. And I think it's Lee now who has gone into second and maybe can put some pressure on the race leader, Ross Whitting. 88. It's Clyde Lee, Rod Darling in the car right behind him in 191.
Be some sort of performance if he can, because Whitting is not unbeatable, but tough man.
Well, perhaps our race leader, Ross Whitting, is just running the pace that suits him at the moment. He hasn't really got to extend it at this stage. He exits Honda Corner about 100 metres clear.
At least.
Darling hasn't given up, though. Let me tell you, he's coming down the outside here of number 88, Clyde Lee. Closes right up again on the inside as they exit Winfield Court. Short shoot brings them down to another right-hander back on the front straightaway one more time. Rebel Corner.
Unless Whitting does something really crazy, I don't think they've got any chance. The big dice is for second, third and fourth spots in that group there.
Yeah, this is where the action is definitely. Okay.
Darling has another shot at Clyde Lee as they come over the top. Peter Farr, not to be forgotten either, nor Paul Addard, just sitting in there waiting for these other two to come unglued.
Good dice between these four cars running in second, third, fourth and fifth. And really, it's anyone's guess who's going to take over the runner-up spot, because they're very, very close indeed. Still Clyde Lee, number 88, Rod Darling on 191, and then Peter Farr is the next one in number 21. Oops, number 21 almost got the short back and sides from 58 that time.
And Paul Addard lost ground in the encounter though.
Yes, I don't think anyone's going to catch the leader. They're on their last lap now as they cross the starting line. Second place being held out by Clyde Lee. There's the race leader going beneath us in Dunlop Blue. And here comes the challenge. It's still on, let me tell you. Clyde Lee, number 88, followed by 191, Rod Darling. And then right behind him at 21 is Peter Farr.
The leader disappears off screen as Lee comes through. Darling, Farr and Addard. Nose to tail, the four of them. Nothing to choose between them. Just a hair's breadth, one mistake. Up, there you go. Addard's through into fourth spot. Overtakes Peter Farr, but back at the head of the field, Ross Whitting says, see you later, guys. This one's mine.
Yes, Ross Whitting and the Guardsman security entry. Oh, coming back onto the track, and the checkered flag about to fall for Ross Whitting, who goes on to win the Classic Wax Super Mini Series Round 2 this afternoon at Amaroo Park. Clyde Lee is going to last long enough to get in for second place, and I think Paul Addard has just got in third clear of Peter Farr. But a very, very interesting race, certainly in the middle part of the pack. Good driving from Ross Whitting. He usually starts off the front, but today started round about the middle of the pack. We'll take a break and return to Amaroo Park Raceway with more live motor racing.
When we wound up at the last Amaroo Park motor race meeting, Ross Whitting was on his way to hospital, and his Mini was in pieces at the top of the hill. Ross, you're back, bigger and brighter than ever, and a brand new car.
Yes, it's a brand new car, nearly all the way through. We only salvaged a few parts out of the old car. and it's going extremely well. We came up here last Sunday and done a few laps, and it was right on the pace.
Well, you've still got a little bit of sorting out to do, obviously, because you're a little way back on the grid today.
Yeah, we had a few problems yesterday with tyres and a bit of brain fade on my part, but I think we can get our act together.
Well, you suffered a neck injury last time. How's that shaping up? Still giving you trouble or not?
No, it's pretty good. I think it goes out in sympathy every time it sees the top of the hill, but no, it's extremely good.
Well, you're the series leader in the Classic Wax Mini Series with a new car that obviously still going to take some running in. Can you stay on top?
I hope I can. We have Darryl Gretwick up from Victoria, who's extremely fast, co-holder of the lap record here with myself. He'll take some catching because we are behind him, but I think we can do it.
Okay, new car and brim full of confidence. Ross Wittig, the front runner in the Classic Wax Mini Series here at Amaroo Park.
Back here at Amaroo Park Raceway, and we're just waiting on the field now to come back on their pace lap for, of course, the Classic Car Wax Super Mini Series. Ross Wittig, who was talking to Gary only a few seconds ago, is one of the leading contenders here today, and we have a very, very good field for the Classic Car Wax Super Mini Series. This is round number 3, and on pole position today we have Peter Farr in car number 21, who was 103.3 yesterday, and John Mallam with a 103.9. Darryl Gretwicks in car number 75. There's number 21 pulling up at the starting line. He's our pole man, Peter Farr. And they always manage to put on some tremendous antics, the Super Minis here at Amaroo Park. It's the type of track where they can drive them just about flat out all the way. It's not the most forgiving track, as some of the contenders in the Super Mini Series have found out over a period of time.
Just running down the field, John Mallam has second position on the field in car number 50. You can see him there. He did a 103.9 yesterday in practice. The times were a bit artificial because of the rain. In fact, you might find some of the quick fellows at the back who were in all sorts of strife yesterday in the very slippery conditions which prevailed. On the second row in car number 75, Darryl Gretwicks, 104.2, and Clyde Lee in car number 88. Behind them on the third row, Paul Attard and Terry Smith, 58 and 38. Car number 191, Rod Darling, Ross Wittig in car 20. Watch Ross, this is a new car that Gary was talking about. Incredible effort to get here. John Massey and Peter Crocker, Ed Gavin and Greg Rogers, Stephen Evan, Warwick Augustin, Rich Taylor and Graham Boyce.
Interesting
the whole field.
Evan, is that both Darryl Gretwicks and Ross Wittig are co-holders of the under 2-litre sports sedan lap record here in these minis. So there's no love lost between these two boys when it comes to racing on the track, and it could be something to see this race.
This Classic Wax Super Mini Series race, the third in the round, is over 8 laps.
Ross Wittig is the series leader.
10 seconds. The signal has been given. You can see the starter in the bottom right-hand corner. Up goes the flag.
We wait the start of the Classic Wax Super Mini Series. The flag drops and they are off and running, and Peter Farr getting away a little slowly. Missed the start completely, and there's a coming together of two of the minis as they manage to try and break through heading up the hills, but I think John Mallam has gone through to take over the lead as they go up to the top of Bitchapave Hill for the first time, and will now drop into the Dunlop Loop area of the racetrack.
Clyde Lee made a good start too, as did Darryl Gretwicks, but there's a great swarm of cars there. And Ross Wittig.
Oh, one out of shape.
Oh, completely out of shape. In fact, Augustin, that is. He just got to start the race. I thought for a while he must be regretting that didn't start. But he's got it back under control very well. Didn't leave the track, and he's back on the circuit. And it's John Mallam in the lead.
Okay, hits that little puddle of water and skips him out to the outside, but Mallam at this stage with about a 10-metre lead. One's gone sideways, number 38, parked out of harm's way.
That's Terry Smith.
Okay, so Terry sits there looking at the traffic going past and now manages to rejoin in safety. So it had two losers in the first 3/4 of the first lap.
I would think that wet bit on the track too is going to cause them, the mini drivers, a little more trouble than some of the others. They've got a lot of power, got very little weight, they've got big wide slicks in the front, and that's a recipe for disaster. So we'll just see how they go. There was one reason, I think, why Mallam was going fairly wide as he went around Honda the first time, just to keep out of it, but he almost went off the track. So we'll watch him second time. He's up on the top of the circuit at the moment. 75 in third place is Darryl Gretwicks. Oh, and parking the car very neatly, but rather despondently, is Ed Gavin in the middle of the track.
Okay, Peter Farr in second place, but he's trying to contain a challenger right behind him as they come down into the left-hander again at Honda. Number 75 dropping into third, Darryl Gretwicks. But they managed to move that turn, and Guttricks now moves down on the inside of Farr, and that takes away second place from that driver. So Guttricks is now up into second in the race behind John Mallum.
And Ross Wittig in fourth spot. So the battle is looming.
There's Guttricks, number 75, number 21 behind him is Peter Farr. Second and third in the race. There's the race leader, John Mallum, coming up Bitchy Pave Hill with probably about a 20-metre lead over second place number 75 and 21 in third. Mallum comes through. In fact, I think Guttricks has caught probably 10 metres of that back on Mallum over the top of Bitchy Pave Hill. Now we'll wait and see if he can make up the same amount of ground down the back part of the track.
It's a remarkable effort by Ross Wittig to be here with all the work he's been doing on the car. I was talking to him earlier, Gary, and he was saying that luckily he works at night, so he can work on the car all day. He hasn't got much sleep in the last 3 weeks. But he's got the car here, and he said when he first ran it, it ran well. Which is a remarkable testimony to his effort, but he's not making up the sort of ground he would have wished. I think there he is now. And while he's in fourth place, he just doesn't quite have the zip that he would have been looking for into the pits.
Clyde Lee, with problems, is in the pit area.
Bad luck, he was fourth in practice.
Okay, and the race lead has changed with Guttricks going through to take Mallum. Mallum now into second place, and Peter Farr is back in third. So Guttricks really the prime mover at this stage of the race. But not to be denied, Mallum is going wide. And whether he can pull it down, he was committed then to that line, which was the incorrect line, quite obviously.
I would think that Mallum, along with Farr, would have been praying for rain because it was under the wet conditions that they made their fastest times in practice. Whereas the traditionally faster cars, the drivers like Dale Guttricks and Wittig were further back. On the dry conditions, the power and maybe the greater experience of these drivers coming to the fore, and now we have Guttricks in the lead.
Wittig has now moved up into fourth place. And he's not that far behind the front-running three, probably about 30 metres. So there's our man in his new car, a fellow who gets around Amaroo Park in the Super Minis better than anyone, Ross Wittig. But at the moment, Darryl Guttricks in the number 75, yellow and green Mini, leading from Mallum. Farr is third, and Wittig is fourth. That's the race order, 1 back to 4.
Wittig just not as fast on the straights up the hills as we might have expected, but still gradually hauling back the third and second cars. But whether he'll have the legs to haul in his great rival, Darryl Guttricks, I think it's rather doubtful. He's giving it a go. John Mallum still holding on in second place in the blue Mini.
Okay, down to the left-hander, Peter Farr. Not that far behind Mallum this time through Honda Corner. Down towards the right-hander. Guttricks is doing a good job. He's managed to steamroll his way through to take over the lead, and at this stage is certainly not in any doubt about retaining it through to the finish. Providing the outhander can move out forward on the front straightaway. Got very, very close.
Second place, Peter Farr, the man who came off pole. In third, Farr comes from Gosford. He had most of the Mini veterans clinging on to their wheels with whitened knuckles yesterday, the way he was going around in the wet, but it got him pole position, and he's driving pretty well again today, although conditions are different, and is in third spot.
Behind the leading four we've been watching is Rod Darling in fifth place, and he has Peter Crocker just behind him. Both those cars out of camera range at the moment, as we've been following the leading four cars. And particularly just seeing how Ross Wittig goes in his endeavour to make up from 8th place on the grid to a fighting position in this race. Still fourth, and not making a lot of ground on them. I think he's just lacking the speed there, trying terribly hard under braking on racing, and just catches a little bit on these two that we're watching at the moment. Two who were fastest in practice yesterday, Mallum and Farr.
He had difficulty, I think, bridging the gap on this man, though. Darryl Guttricks from Victoria. Only 2 laps to go, and they're going to be hard put to catch Guttricks unless he does something drastically wrong. And from what we've seen so far today, anything is possible.
Guttricks comes through Dunlop Loop at this stage with probably 50 metres over second place driver, and Peter Farr just managed to pass Mallum, and Wittig, of course, has been back and forth for the last 4 laps of this race. There's Evan, Mallum, not to be denied, comes again, but runs into all sorts of stuff.
Too hard, yes. He braked and then hit the water. He locked the brake before he got onto the water, so he can't really blame that. He just went too deep.
put Wittig in a position now to mount a challenge on far.
Yes, Wittig's got the adrenaline pumping. Has now moved into third place, and here he is working away on Peter Farr in number 21. Laps have run out, or just about run out.
One to go.
One to go. Peter Farr running in second, and Ross Wittig in the Luxor Flex. About to pull the shutters down on Peter Farr if he can for second. And Darryl Grettrick's going over the top of Victor Pave, still with a very commanding lead. Here we wait for second. And by the look of the front of the car, it is in fact Ross Wittig who has managed to move up into second place, but Farr hasn't given up.
You might say far from it. He really had his nose stuck in under the tail of the Luxor Flex car there. And I don't think he'll be able to push that challenge any harder, but he's certainly trying. He's coming in very deep here towards Honda. And he's braking late again. He's coming in hard. Look at that.
That's a good move. I'm surprised he was able to pull that off, actually, and to stay down lower. Now, that puts him in pretty good shape for the final corner, but Wittig's an old hand at racing a mini around Amaroo Park. There's our race leader, Darryl Grettrick, coming into the final corner that will put him back onto the front straight away. And with the hand out the window, and he's pleased as punch. He's got up to win round number 3 today of the Super Mini Series, the Classic Car Wax at Amaroo Park. Second will go to Ross Wittig, and third place to Peter Farr. Well, everything sort of happened in the last lap and a half of that race, but I don't think anyone would begrudge Darryl Grettrick's his win. Proof positive that there is more interesting motor racing heading your way when we return to Amaroo Park Raceway.
Cars. Number 75, Darryl Grettrick, will be doing battle with his great rival in car number 20, Ross Wittig. Jane Taylor, who has been doing exceptional things in recent months, developing into one of our finest ever women drivers, is due to start her Mini, as she just went by then, on the second row of the grid, having qualified third fastest. She's the girl who had troubles during the week when an engine was destroyed in a tuning mishap. I think someone left their handkerchief too close to the carburetor and it was sucked in, and the engine had to be rebuilt. So Jane has put a big effort into getting here, and must be pleased with qualifying on the second row of the grid. A remarkable effort. The race will be over 8 laps. It's the Classic Wax Super Mini Series, the final of the run, and again Mini drivers weaving across the track to put a bit of warmth into their tyres so they get plenty of grip in those big broad front wheels, make sure they bite and get grip to get them off the line. The sun's starting to get a bit of a problem here. It lowers in these winter days at Amaroo Park, so that the climb up Bitchapave Hill, one of the most difficult parts of the circuit, in the opposite direction to which they're travelling at the moment. You can see the track on the left-hand side of your screen there, takes them right up towards the sun. Very difficult, and has in fact led to a number of incidents where drivers have just lost vision and have gone off the track. And it's getting towards that time of the day, and we've got some big races still to follow, so plenty of excitement ahead, I suspect.
Well, it's always one type of motor racing at Amaroo Park that really produces thrills, and that's the Super Minis. Very, very quick indeed around this particular track. One of the shapely girls waiting for the cars to come in. Ross Wittig is the first one to pull up, and of course Ross has pole position and a little grin on the face.
He has also 24 points, and I doubt whether he can be beat for the series, as the second man is Peter Farr with 11 points, and Rod Darling follows with 10, and Darryl Grettrick, who'll be his rival today, has only 9, so it looks like a win for Ross Wittig. So the interest is not so much in the series, but in the race itself. And car number 75, Darryl Grettrick, will be a difficult man to toss. He wasn't quite as quick in practice yesterday, but has had the night to work on the car. Peter Farr on the second row of the grid in car number 21, and Jane Taylor, about whom we were speaking. We're just playing Jane on the windscreen in car number 17. We'll be starting from the second row in her fine form yesterday, recording third fastest time. On the third row, car number 50 is John Mallum. Long gap then. We've lost the fourth row altogether. The next car we pick up is car number 30, which is Reg Taylor. Alongside him, car number 88, Clyde Lee. Car number 31, is Stephen Evans as the 10-second flag goes. Terry Smith, Brian Walls, Ed Gavin, Ken Kemp and John Massey with Rod Darling. Now the flag is dropped and away they go.
And a good start too made by Ross Whittig. Got away smartly indeed, but Gerald Gatrix, I think, even got the best of it. One withdrew right at the start as we picked him up going up Vitupay for the first time. 56 was a little slow to get with it, John Massey. But over the top, and it's Darryl Gittrix who leads from Ross Whittig, so that ensures there's going to be one heck of a race between these two out in front, let me tell you. Through Dunlop Loop and heading down in the direction now of Mazda Corner on the back part of the course.
Jane Taylor cut right in behind.
And Reg Taylor in car 30 out of the race already and has rolled the car back down the hill into the pits. There you can see.
Bad luck for Reg in this classic Wax Super Mini Series. Darryl Gittrix there in car number 75. Ross Whittig.
Oh, Jane Taylor's got a car in front of her. She managed to dodge it. That was the blue car. The white one spun in front and got back on the track again. It was Peter Farr.
Oh, the 79's in the rough.
You could say far out, and Jane Taylor had to back off a lot and lost ground there, but is back fighting again. Car number 79.
Peter Crocker. Okay, we pick up again on Darryl Gittrix. if I can get that straight after the first lap, I'll be right.
Let's just call him Darryl.
Good on you, Darryl. Darryl leads from Ross Whittig. There's 56, that's going nowhere, that's out. That was John Massey's car. That didn't get off the line all that well.
Gittrix, Whittig, Taylor over the top.
And Gittrix with the yellow Mini comes down through Mazda, which he takes absolutely flat out in top gear now and travelling as fast as a Mini brick has ever gone. These are the most highly developed Mini racing, despite those who remember with great affection the days of Skinny Mountain and Brian Foley and other greats in the Mini era. These are more powerful and faster cars still. And it's Darryl Gittrix who's leading the race. Car number 20 is Ross Whittig.
He's got a good lead over Whittig at this stage of the race too. I would have expected Whittig to be a little closer to him.
Jane Taylor there in third place, holding on well in car number 17.
Whittig apparently had a little trouble with his car earlier in the day and was seen at the back of the pits with a puddle of oil underneath. And some anxious work going on under the bonnet.
Clyde Lee's made up a lot of ground, Gary. He's got up to 4th place, having started from way back on 9th position on the grid, even though there were some empty spaces in front of him. It's a remarkable effort to get up so close. Particularly, he's had a bit of dodging to do with some of the mortality among other cars that occurred in the early stages of the race. Jane Taylor still running in 3rd place, about an equal spacing between those leading cars, Darryl Gittrix, Ross Whittig and Jane Taylor. And repeating again, a remarkable effort by Jane to be up there as high as this among the most exalted company in Mini drivers. Gittrix from Victoria goes very wide as he takes the fast line through and uses the very last inch of track.
Well, we were talking about drivers settling up partnerships for Bathurst earlier, and Jane Taylor will be driving in the James Hardy at Bathurst this year with Gary Wilmington.
I thought you were going to say Gary Wilkins.
No, well, I'll tell you what. You could do worse.
I mean, you could do worse or she could do worse.
Through Dunlop Loop.
Oh, I could do worse.
This is Jane Taylor here. You know, I've seen Jane many times in her driving outfit, and when I saw her without, I didn't recognise her. She didn't look like a racing driver or mechanic. Nice-looking girl. Not that racing drivers need necessarily be nice-looking, but...
I'm not going to add one comment to that.
I wouldn't think we should. No, there's Jane Taylor's car anyhow, car 17, still running largely unsponsored. And if we get a side view, you'll see very clearly on this car, because it's not confused by sign writing, how the front bonnet is modified to give like a nose or a snout to it, which is the air scoop for the forward-facing carburettor. They have cross-flow heads on these latest racing Minis. And that little proboscis snout on the nose of the Mini is to encompass the... I'm using big words. Get me my dictionary quickly.
Oh, I thought that was just there to put the classic wax on.
I thought that was...
There's a carby under there sucking madly across the cross-flow head. And there's Jane Taylor. All the cars, the leading ones, have this sort of configuration, but you can't see it now. There's quite clearly on her vehicle. Here she comes down, still running in 3rd place. About equi-spaced between the 1st and 2nd car.
Car 75, Darryl Gittrix. Still can't say it, folks. It'll improve by lap 10.
You better get a move.
I get the run down the field.
To the end of lap 5.
In 4th place is Clyde Lee in car number 88. In 5th is car number 21, Peter Farr. Despite his spin-off, he's up there in 5th place. Car number 50 is running 6th, and that is John Mallam. Those are the positions at the end of 4 laps of this 8th race, half distance.
Clyde Lee, car number 88.
Jane Taylor still holding a solid third. I don't think in any danger of being beaten at all for that third place. Ross Whittig goes through. Jane Taylor, we were following earlier. And quite a gap back to the fourth place rider, who I believe now would be Clyde Lee.
Yeah. I think we had an idea from the way he came over the corner drifting of just how fast the cars do crest this rise. They come up picture pave. It's a very slight left-hander. It doesn't look at probably the angles you see, but a terrifying curve. And then swing into the long, continuous right known as the Dunlop loop. And that classic drifting shot of Clyde Lee, I think, emphasised just how hard they're going as they come over the top of the rise.
Gap between the three leading cars tending to stretch just a little bit. Grettrix must have the best part of 70 metres on Ross Whittig, with a further 70 or 80 metres now to Jane Taylor, and then perhaps 120 to Clyde Lee in fourth spot.
We have 2 laps to go for the leaders. Let me remind you that the next race on the program, by the way, is the final of the better brakes under 3.5 litre touring cars. Alan Grice won the preliminary heat today. Fairly controversial race. We'll tell you about that as the cars come out. In the meantime, we're in the last laps now of the Classic Wax series for minis, and there's still Darryl Grettrix leading. He sweeps on down through Mazda, then towards Honda. Funny territory for a Mini to be in for Cell. Here he goes, the only real left-hander on the whole of the circuit. Takes it hard. He's about to lap the car in front of Stephen Evans in car 31.
He's certainly done this well today. Ross Whittig, we would have expected to have been up to really challenge Darryl Grettrix, but he's cleared right out, and to do this quite easily.
Last lap board.
The surprising thing, of course, is that Whittig was, what, half a second or more faster, 7/10 of a second faster in practice, and yet has to be content with
well, he's encountered some further problem in the last couple of laps too, because the pressure is well and truly off the race leader.
Second place, however, in this final event will be enough to preserve Ross Whittig's overall lead in the series and give him the 1981 Classic Wax Super Mini Series prize.
the last lap board is out for the test.
Okay, overlapping yet another of the slower cars on the way to a rather resounding victory coming up for the Victorian Darryl Grettrix.
It's one of the easiest victories we've ever seen in any racing, which normally is a real cat and dog fight right to the very end. But it's going to be Grettrix going through to take victory. It won't get him enough points to win the series, but certainly he's got the victory today, and there's a long gap before we come to the man who'll win the series, Ross Whittig, and Jane Taylor has closed up. Whittig eases a little bit. Jane Taylor takes third place, which will please her, I'd say, because she could do with the money, as well as a recognition, and Lee will come across in fourth place with a lap car, car 31, Stephen Evans, following through.
He sits high in the car there too, Devon, sort of tall in the saddle.
Yes. Yes, it's some tall drivers have driven in minis, and they always look a bit strange, I suppose, to outsiders. Yet it's a car that can accommodate a tall person very easily.